Okay. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for that. We had some technical difficulties here. We got it all figured out, though. Jackson, I really apologize. We're going to skip the intro that we normally do. We're just going to get straight into it, okay? Um, we got Jackson Jensen on the phone here. He is a standout wide receiver for his team, the Grantsville Cowboys. He led the team last year in receiving with 685 yards, 7 touchdowns on only 32 receptions, averaging 21.4 per reception. So quite the year for that young man. His junior year, he'll be heading into his senior year this year, and cannot wait to see what he has to do. We're gonna start this whole thing over, Jackson, if you don't mind. Um, yeah, that
That should be
was
good.
yeah. Let's see if we can get the clapping back in here at least, anyways, because I owe that to you at a minimum. No, it
Okay.
doesn't want to work for me either. Holy cow! All right, so we've already been chatting for a second, but the audience is just now joining us. So first things first, like I said, I like to make sure you guys are eating because that's very important for you guys, and I don't want to be the reason that you guys are going without food. So uh, feel free to explain to the crowd one more time. Have you
Yeah,
eaten?
yeah. I had some chicken and rice, some soy sauce, and then I had a good old Powerade to drink. Just got done eating.
Nice. Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Things we might not know from a stat line.
So I'm Jackson Jensen. I'm gonna be a senior in high school. I play football, basketball, and baseball. A little three-sport action there. Um, I love to hang out with my friends. I'm really competitive, so if you ask any of them anything that we ever do, I win or I get angry.
I mean, that's not always bad. That's not always bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool,
Um.
man. No, go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry, my fault. My fault. Please go ahead.
You're good. You're good.
All right. Well, so I'm really excited to have you on. You did big things for your team last year. I'm aware that you're a multi-sport athlete. I haven't seen a whole lot on the baseball side. I'll be 100% honest there. But I do like what I'm seeing on the from you on the basketball court. You made great progress there. You are a heck of a competitor. You're really aggressive, and I've also seen that translate into the football realm for you. So definitely excited to see what you do this year for all the sports that you're a part of. Um, yeah, no, it's super exciting to have you on here, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate being on here. It's a privilege.
So last year was a big year for you. Like I said earlier, you led your team in receiving yards with 685 yards on 32 receptions for an average of 21.4 yards per reception. You also finished the season with 7 touchdowns. And if I'm not mistaken, this was your first year with wide receiver being your primary position. Um, what do you attribute to your success last season?
Um. You know, s- we'll start from the beginning. My sophomore year, I was the backup quarterback, and
Right.
I talked with some of my coaches, and we made the changes to wide receiver. And uh, I didn't really, see the field a whole lot, but we got to that playoff game, and I felt like I played a whole bunch, and so that really, to me, just realized that maybe there is something on this field for me, and there's a place for me in this program, and so that really just helped me grind all in the off season. Shout out to my mom and my dad. Me and my dad would always go down to the field, and we just work on my craft. Just he would always be willing to take me to camps, and having parents that support you is a really big deal to me, and that a lot of my
Absolutely.
success goes to them.
Absolutely, man. And it's crazy. The stories are always different, right? You've got players that have had a ton of support, and then you've got players that's like nobody ever supports them, and the way that they achieve greatness, they can still end up at the same place, but the paths, I mean, it's super crazy, but it's definitely like somebody's got to be in your corner, and as long if it's your parents, that's even better. But somebody's got to be in your corner, and it sounds like you've got a really good support system. I mean, I've had the luxury to get to know you over the years, and I know your dad's super involved. So I know he's a good influence in your life, man. So that's awesome, and I'm glad that you guys were able to figure that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, I think at that time, if I remember right, the quarterback position was a little. It wasn't hashed out, but there was a lot of good talent there because there was you were there. Obviously, you guys had Dallin coming in and proving himself. I think you guys still had Evan Bunderson, and then if I'm not mistaken, Jordan Fossen was also kind of off and on with that too. So there was a lot of good talent there at the quarterback and a lot of competition. So I don't know, man. I'm thinking you might have made the right choice here.
Yeah, and in the long run, it worked out because Dallin's an amazing quarterback. He's he's so like for his age, he's just it's out of this world just how big he is. How muscular that man is, and he can throw the ball. As a sophomore, he threw for over 2,000 yards, so that's really impressive. And so I feel like that worked out for me and Jordan, knowing that there's a
Absolutely.
quarterback that's reliable.
Yeah, no, it definitely worked out good. So you and Jordan, uh, Jordan, you guys went back and forth all season last year in regards of who was kind of leading the team in receiving yards. Was that an intentional competition, or was it something that just kind of happened and you guys made the most of it?
Yeah, I don't think it was ever a competition. I wasn't like looking at the stats and be like, oh, I gotta have a good game, because Jordan has more yards than me. I know, like I support Jordan, he supports me, and you know, if he does good, that's good for all of us. We're a team. That's not an individual game, or we'd be
Sure.
playing another sport. So if I do good, that's great for the whole team. If he does good, it's great for the whole team. So it's just kind of like it's just good for everyone.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah, no, I was just kind of curious if maybe you guys had like some internal competition. Maybe did it kind of turn into that as the season kind of went on, just as like a not necessarily a competition of like I have to be better than you type thing, but just you guys kind of going back and forth, or was it just something you guys kind of brushed off?
I think I never talked about it with him, so I think it was just brushed off. I think it was just we were just all happy for each other.
Dude, that makes it even better. Then that makes it even better. That's pretty cool. So, like I said earlier, I've had the privilege of getting to watch you play since like your junior high years. That's when I really got to meet you guys and get to see what you were able to do. And like you previously said, you did a lot of quarterback stuff, right? It was being a quarterback something that helped you when you made that switch to receiver. And if so, can you kind of tell us what it was about that that maybe benefited you?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a quarterback, you have to learn to like read defenses, and you have to you know, see what kind of coverages they're in. So if I'm wider out, I can see the whole defense. I can see what coverages they're in, if they're moving up to come into man press or so I think that works out. I can put myself into a situation, a spot where I'm gonna be successful and where I could get the ball wide open. So it works out to my advantage that I've learned, coverages from being a quarterback.
Okay, cool, cool, man. So I mean, obviously, like receivers, they get praised for their catches and after catch runs, right? But what is something that you think is overlooked when it comes to what a receiver actually does?
Um, the most overlooked thing for sure is blocking, because you always see, the running backs, they sometimes bounce it out and, it's for long runs. And that's because the, the wide receivers are out there, blocking their butts off. And I know me and my teammate Ty Holmes, we're really big on blocking, like at practice, if you don't block, like we're going to let you know that you need to block. And that's just something that the wide receivers at Grantsville just take really to heart is blocking. It's a big part of the game.
So Max Preps has you listed at 6'1", 180 pounds. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's not right anymore. I'm about
Okay.
6'3", and I think I weighed myself at 188 pounds today at football, or when I got home from football.
So do you find it pretty easy to be blocking? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of games over the course of doing this, and some of them corners are kind of small. So is that something you feel like really benefits you and makes you even more of a threat?
Yeah, I feel like that. I'm glad that I'm that big, and my arms are longer than theirs, so I can just hold them out there, and keep my block, and it helps that I weigh what I weigh. I might not be like, the biggest wide receiver you've ever seen, but I feel like I can hold my own on a
Yeah,
one-on-one
no,
block.
you're definitely a pretty decent size, man. From what I've seen, from other, from just doing this over the last year and so or so, you're definitely a good size for your position. I think there's definitely a ton of potential, and I think the biggest thing is you have the athleticism, which probably a lot of that comes from your basketball play. The way you play down low. I think that's benefiting you on the field personally, from my perspective.
Yeah, that it definitely plays a big part. They all correlate really well with each other, so that's nice.
So we're gonna touch on last season just a little bit before we kind of get into the current season stuff here. But last year you guys opened up the season against San Juan as well last year, and in that game there was probably a fair amount of people that might have viewed you guys as underdogs in some kind of way, right? But you ended up having the best game of your season in that game. You went for 156 yards on 7 receptions for 2 touchdowns. I mean, you had a monster game. What was it about that game that inspired that performance from you, and what was it that your team did that made that attainable for you?
Um, so it helps that they were on a 37 game winning streak. You want to be the team that breaks that. Kind of tears them
Absolutely.
down. Uh, and I think another big thing was the unity in that team was so strong last year. We were all playing for each other. We'd go to practice and we'd fight, all practice. But once you get to the Friday night and you get under the lights, you're playing for each other. And so I feel like just for the first game of the year, it's a big deal. You want to play for your brothers, and everyone's playing at 100% because everyone's at the best of their game, at the top of their, everyone's healthy, everyone's at 100%.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think that just played a big role in that game.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it really was a monster game for you. It was definitely. I think the cool thing about that game was, like we already discussed, right? That was your first year as wide receiver as your primary position, and from game one, you showcased what you were capable of doing, and it was really impressive, man. It was really impressive. If
Thank
I
you, thank you.
if I remember correctly, and this is this is with a grain of salt, okay, but I'm pretty sure that's the game you had a big catch over the top of somebody too. And
Yeah, I had a couple that game.
yeah, I know I
I
got one for our highlights last year. I had a really good shot of it, and I was hoping I could find it for your advertising, but I think it's on my old computer, and that thing sucks. So,
yeah.
but no, man, it was a really good game, really good game. And so moving into this season, then, or no, I'm sorry, excuse me. So obviously the big games, they're great. A game like that, that's great to remember, right? Having games where you get 156 yards, it's awesome, right? But you also had a game where you went 1 reception for 10 yards, right? So how do you stay focused and motivated after having such success, but then maybe perhaps struggling or not getting as many targets in the next game? What's your mindset? How do you get through that kind of stuff?
In that moment, I was very. I think there was a few games where I thought that I should be getting more targets, and I didn't. And that was the past me. I was just frustrated at myself, and I never want to point the fingers, but I was mad at some of my teammates for not trusting me and throwing the ball up to me. But I feel like the thing I've learned the most is that you know like the it not everything's gonna like be about me. I might not have a bunch of touches, but just like positivity. Because there's
Hmm.
I what if I have the worst game of my season and another receiver has the best game of their season. So you just got to give them props and not drag yourself down and have bad body language and instead build them up. So I feel like just the best thing is just like to stay positive and keep working on your craft and knowing your capabilities.
No, man, and that's an awesome realization, because I think that was the cool thing about what you guys did last year is the 1-2 punch between you and Foss, and if the defense focused too much on the other one of you was going to have a monster game, and, and and I think that might be a little bit of what you're kind of getting at, that you kind of realized, is that just because you had a bad game doesn't mean that the team failed. And I wouldn't even say a bad game, right? That's probably a bad way to put it. Just because you were targeted less or something like that, right? So that's a heck of a realization, man, and it shows growth that you can recognize that and admit that, especially publicly. So that's definitely something to hang your head high about and just keep moving forward about, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
so so we'll move into this season. What we got going on this season? Okay. So you guys will start out again against San Juan, but they seem to be a team that looks to be rebuilding in a lot of ways. But they do have a proven history of being a successful program, so I don't feel like you can really write them off. But it does look like they're kind of rebuilding. They lost a lot of people, and one of their best players last year to graduation. So how prepared do you feel you are personally for this matchup? And how prepared do you think your team is coming into this game?
I personally feel like I'm well prepared. I've been putting in work since last November, so I'm ready. The offense just got done putting in their last and final stuff, so I feel like the offense is is looking really good. And even the defense at the beginning of seventh season, I was kind of worried. But we didn't really know what we were doing. But this last in summer camp, not even fall camp, they really locked it up and they learned their role. And I feel like the team is better. I think we're going to be better than we were last year. No one really believed that we were going to be good last year, but I feel like we're going to be better.
So I will admit, you guys definitely did better than I thought you would do. I didn't
Yeah.
think you were going to be trash, but I did expect a little bit more of a struggle just because of what a coaching change can do, right? Historically, first year coaches, from what I've learned, they tend to struggle, and I think you guys were kind of the anomaly to that. So like I'll admit 100% that you guys definitely did better than I thought you were going to do. Um, I,
Yeah.
I didn't think you were going to do terrible, but I think in that game in particular, they had a lot of hype, right? And like you said, you wanted to be the ones that end that streak for sure. So I really think that's probably the biggest reason you guys were the underdog, because my perspective of it was that you guys were a little bit more well rounded all the way around in that game than they were, and I really think that's what put you guys over the top. But you know, yeah, I think you guys are. I think you guys stand the best shot of being the best team in the county, just because you guys have a ton of returning players that have cohesion. You guys have worked well together for the last couple of years. There's a lot to look forward to for you guys for sure. So your matchup after San Juan will be against Ridgefield, uh, a team that really brought it to you guys in that playoff game last season. What was the biggest thing you personally took away from that game that is motivating you headed into this matchup this season?
Um, I don't want to like look games in advance, but that game's for sure personal. We have a good run all season. We're at the top of our game, and then we lose, I don't know, 42-49 to 0. So I feel like we have something to go in there for. They ended our seniors football careers. Some of them, it was their last time ever being on a football field. So I feel like personally the way I could get back is you know going after them. And I don't, and like they're gonna have a they've been talking about having a rebuild year, but that truly doesn't mean anything. I feel like we should just put it to them, pedal to the metal the whole game. Like, yeah, it's just that game's a little personal.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're in a similar boat as San Juan, right? Like they lost some key players, but again, though, they're a program that has proven themselves to be a decent program. So I think it's safe to expect them to come out willing to play. And yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with you taking it personal, because you're absolutely right. It was one of those things where you guys were really kind of moving and grooving, and they just steamrolled it, man. You can't take that away from them. But what you can do is you can definitely be wanting to get revenge, right? And that's I think that's okay too.
Yeah, yeah.
So you guys have had several staff changes, excuse me. Um, last year your head coach changed. This year your coach is still the same, but now the staff's beginning to change. Um, and I imagine that has potential to somewhat be concerning, especially if you're a senior, right? You're going into your senior year, now you've got all these changes kind of going on. How do you feel about the changes personally, and what has stood out to you the most so far in terms of what they bring to the team?
Personally, I feel like uh, the coaching is better than it was last year. I feel like we've had a couple new coaches. Uh, his name's Coach J, Coach Herbert. He's really just an energy guy. So we had a lot of energy from the defensive side last year, and I feel like he just stepped it up even more. He's a young guy, and so he really just has that Friday night energy. And uh, Alan Morrison going to the defense side of the ball. I was a little skeptical at first, but he was an amazing football player, and he knows football, and his IQ for football is so high. So I feel like in a way it worked out better for us, even being seniors.
Okay, okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, the defense is probably what I was shocked by the most last year. I thought that they really did a fantastic job. So to hear you say that you feel confident that they're going to potentially be better. I think that's the second time I've kind of heard that from one of the players in your guys' program. That's really intriguing to me because again they shocked me last year. I thought they did a phenomenal job despite some of the things that I had thought. So that's very promising to hear coming into the season. And
Yeah.
if my inside source is correct, I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure I'm sure you know who it is. I
Yeah.
understand that we will likely see you on the defensive side of the ball more this year. And so, if that's true, what are you hoping to bring personally to the defense? And what are you most excited for in regards of that defense? And if that's wrong, is defense an area you're maybe pursuing?
No, that is true. I recently started playing both ways in certain formations. We have a formation where I go to free safety, and the biggest thing I feel like I could do is be the energy guy because I feel like you know some good energy guys they're mostly always in the backfield like Porter Davis. So that
Yeah.
those DBs never really get like hype. And on the offensive side of the ball, I feel like we always are bringing a lot of energy. So I feel like the biggest part is I could just go back there, and just bring a lot of energy to the DBs.
Okay. Okay. So safety is where we should expect to see you primarily, or are you going to kind of float around?
Just partially on the defense, mostly just focusing on offense.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good, man. We'll definitely keep an eye on it. I think when I did my initial football podcast, I think the games that I remember seeing you do it in what were varsity games, but for whatever reason, I thought they were JV games. So I know you've done it before. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be cool to see, man. And you have a ton of energy yourself, so I'm sure that won't be a problem for you to bring energy.
Yeah.
All right, so jumping back to last season just a little bit here, okay? What game last year do you think your team played their best overall team football, regardless of if you guys won or lost?
So I have a couple. I feel like obviously San Juan. Uh, I feel like like the offense. We put up 36 points. That's crazy for a first game. And if you go back and watch film, our defense they get like 3 or 4 turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's just truly amazing that both sides of the ball were you know defense was stopping them, and so that we would be in a good position to score. And or I even feel like Manti. I feel like everyone we went in there and everyone thought we were going to lose, and we go out first drive. I think it was like the second play, and we go down and score. And the defense always did their job. You can never really not trust the defense, and no, they're not going to stop them. So I feel like defense overall, they you could always trust them, but I feel like those are the two games overall.
Okay, okay. So what game do you think you guys played your worst then? And what, in your opinion, is the area you need to make sure you don't repeat in hopes of preventing it this season?
Um, I feel like probably Beaver. If I bet you were probably at that game. We couldn't stop that wing T, and so we play a couple teams this year that run the wing T, and so I feel like the biggest part of where we could fix is learning our assignments in a wing T, and putting a stop to that.
Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, I was definitely at the Beaver game. Um, Beavers one of those teams, man. It's like they don't do anything flashy, but they execute very well. And I think that's really what got you guys. They just executed really well, and it just had you guys up against the ropes. I think in that one, but it's definitely cool that you guys are looking at that because that's not a game in your region or anything like that. So you could easily write it off. Um, but to see that, I think that's good insight, man.
And thank you. Yeah, yeah, I feel like we could just improve on that a little better.
No, that's okay. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging what could be improved. You know what I mean? We can always be better at anything that we do. So, uh, all right. So what game are you looking forward to the most this year, and why is that?
Um, you know, I'm excited for every game this year. I want to beat San Juan again. I want to beat every team that we play. But another one that I'm excited for is Hurricane. I feel like that's exciting for us to play a 4A team and really just show, all of the schools that we're not a joke and that we can just truly, play a good and hard football.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully, hopefully we see something. That'd be really awesome because yeah, that is a good opportunity for you guys to branch out a little bit there. So I believe that there are players on every team that contribute something that is irreplaceable. It doesn't always show up on the stats. A lot of times, fans may not know who that person is, because we aren't hearing their name over the speakers or something, right? Who, in your opinion, is a player that brings something that is critical to your team component and essential for your program, and why is that?
So I actually have a couple. So I feel like the first is every single O line because you never hear that they made a good block, but being in the trenches is tough. Like I think one game I had to go block for like 2 plays as a tight end, and yeah, it's definitely not easy. So I feel like that's one, and I feel like our sideline is really important. They're super involved in the game. When I'm lined up on our sideline, they're always like talking a little bit to the other corner that's guarding me, and I feel like it's always nice knowing that there's that many people that are on your side and that are supporting you. So I feel like those are the two big things, two big people.
I'm not really surprised by the sideline comment. I'm not really surprised by that. No, no. So last year, one of the things that I noticed from the varsity group that you guys got right now is I noticed you guys on the sidelines a lot, cheering on those underclassmen, and probably to the point where you probably got yourselves in a little bit of trouble, and that was obviously you don't want to hurt your team, right? But at the same time, like I think what that can do for those up and coming players, I think that's huge, man. I think that's huge, and obviously you gotta toe the line a little bit, right? But I think that's huge, man. So I'm not surprised to hear that the sideline uh, was one of those players, and you know what? You didn't name any names, and that's okay because I think what you named, I think you're absolutely right, man. Those are critical. That's a great answer, dude.
Thank you.
Was there a player or a coach that helped boost your confidence and make you feel like you were a part of the team when you first came in? And if so, what was it that they did that sticks with you?
So I guess I wouldn't necessarily call this a good thing, but I would say it was definitely just like basically a wake up call. So my freshman year, it was a struggle, all freshman year. I was a little undersized. I was still tall, but I was still like trying to know how to move with my body, being lengthy and skinny. And I feel like the biggest thing, it was our Frosh defensive coordinator. He came up to me and he told me that I was, I'm not bashing on this coach at all because I love this coach. He's one of my favorite coaches like that I've ever played with, and it was Heath Kelly. And he came up to me and told me that I was being soft, and in that moment I was so mad at him, thinking that he could say that. But I feel like since then, I switched it was flipped. You know, it was realizing that everyone's out here to punish you and to hit you as hard as you can. So I don't know why you couldn't go out in there and do it to them. So I feel like that's like the biggest thing to me. So no hate to him because he truly taught me a life lesson there.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're growing into your body, man. That's why, don't ever take stuff too serious too early, right? Like you got time, and no, that's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. So, in your opinion, um, who's another player that we should be keeping an eye on this year to do great things?
Um, so I would definitely say an up and coming player. You know, you don't really. He's going to be a sophomore, Matt Cannon. You know, he throw the ball up and he's going to go get that. I feel like another one you've talked about him before. Ty Holmes. You know, he's 6'4", 195 pounds. He's just a menace. You know, he'll pop someone and then he'll go up and snatch that ball on your head. So I feel like those are two big factors on the up and coming players.
Okay, okay. Well, so I mean, as you know, we like to be on the lookout for up and coming players. And I think you probably kind of already answered this one with Matt Cameron. You said he's a sophomore, but is there another underclassman that you can think of that has the potential to do great things for your program in the coming years?
Yeah, I would just say, you know, there's just that sophomore group is special. You know, like you got they're just like big dudes. Like they're gonna be sophomores and they're as tall as me. You know, but they don't quite weigh that much. But like, you know, you got Matt Cam and then Beck Mondragon and Brigham. You know, they're just dudes. You know, they don't even care how old you are, how big you are. They'll just come up and smack you. So I feel like those are some names you should look out for.
Okay, we definitely will for sure, for sure. Yeah, I hope to get to a lot more, excuse me, JV games this year, and that I was able to get to last year, because yeah, I enjoy that, man. I mean, it's been really cool because that's why I've been able to follow you and the growth that you do because I've been seeing you play all these years, and it's really cool, man. So I want to keep that going. I think those guys they put in a lot of work. They work hard. They're just a lot of them, like you said, they don't maybe have the size just yet or something like that. And but the potential's there, and that's the cool part to see. So
Yeah.
excuse me. Okay, so obviously you still have this whole season, right, to make some memories and things like that. But what is something that's already happened that's kind of stuck with you, like something with the team or whatever like that? Give us a memory that's stuck with you.
Somewhat. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Go ahead and give us a memory that's stuck with you from over the years. I mean, because like I said, obviously you got a whole season to make more of them. But so far, what's a memory that's stuck with you?
Um, I feel like our junior year we went to camp down at Union, and I feel like we just had a blast down there. We were just messing around, but then we get to go play football and smack other teams. So I felt like that was good, and I feel like one of the biggest ones is being in the helmet before running out with your boys. There's so much adrenaline going through. Like you almost like get to the point of tears before you run out of that helmet. So I feel like those are two big things for me.
Okay, cool, man, cool. Uh, so that's the happy moment. Give us a bonehead moment. Give us a story of a time when you had a bonehead moment.
Um, one time I was on grade check because I don't even know why I wasn't trying in school at that time, but I was on grade check and then I snoozed my alarm. And if you talk to Coach Millard, he was not too happy about that. I had to go
So
to like 3 weeks of study hall in the morning. So from Monday to Wednesday for 3 weeks, I would have to wake up at 5 in the morning and go to study hall with Coach Millard.
yeah, yeah. I'm familiar with that program. Not gonna say why, but I'm I'm familiar with that program. So you had the double whammy. Not only did you mess up the grade work, you messed up the alarm work, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
How late were you?
Won't make that mistake again.
How late were you, or did you miss the whole thing?
Oh yeah, no, I just was like, I'm not going. And then yeah, no, that was definitely a mistake.
Well, that's why they're called bonehead moments, and as long as you learn from it, that's all. That's the biggest thing, man. That's the biggest thing. So what are your personal goals this season on the field and off the field?
um, I feel like, since it's my senior season, I just want to get close with all the people I've grown up with my whole life. I've been friends with so many different people, and I bet if I go through my class, with I don't know how many students, I can name every single person's name, and I feel like I just want to get close with everyone, before it's too late. And I feel like some goals I have in football is I want over 1,000 receiving yards, and I want 10 touchdowns. I feel like that's good. I'm always I always want higher, but there's got to be a stepping stone to that.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, really good answers because it goes by faster than you think, and people's lives take them different directions. So definitely enjoy that for sure, 100%. And I think 1,000 yards is definitely attainable. Dallin's done nothing but improve year after. He's only going into his third year, but he pretty much doubled his stats from his freshman year to his sophomore year in terms of passing. And you're obviously a very viable option for that. So I don't think that 1,000 yards is really out of the scope of possibility, man. I really don't.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot.
So what's the dream then? Where does football take you in your dream scenario?
My whole life I've always wanted to, take football to the next level. I was in little league and I just wanted to be on that high school team so bad, but I feel like now that I'm about to graduate, I have some opportunities and I'm hoping to get more opportunities with, the next level. And I think for now, I feel like, with all this NCAA, you know, they add 4 years basically. I want to go to like a junior college and, I feel like 2 years is like a long time, to develop your body all the way and gain weight and build muscle and just like learn the game better. And then I'd like to play at, somewhere in Utah for some Division 1 after I get 2 years of junior college. I feel like that would be the goal and, growing into my body and everything.
And do you have a specific school in mind, or just the region?
I feel like this is kind of a long shot, but like Utah State or BYU, I feel like if I really want it, I could work for that for sure.
Well, listen, man, keep your eye on the prize, and anything's possible. I truly believe that. Um, I have not encountered anything in my life that personal effort, hasn't been able to get me through. Um, you know, so you keep those dreams, you keep that in your vision, and anything's possible, man. Anything's possible.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you want to just stop after college, or you trying to go to the NFL too? What's up with that?
Yeah. I don't know about that one. I would like to live, a life. I eventually want to get married, start a family. I feel like that's truly the end goal.
Okay. Okay. Hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that either, man. So if when you go to school, what do you plan to study in?
Um, as of right now, business. I haven't really looked too much into any other, major. I've just I've always wanted to be a businessman, so
Okay. Okay. Well, hey, man. We we wish you nothing but the best there, and can't wait to see what you do for sure. Um, and it's one of those things where at a certain point it becomes all on you, right? And it's how much are you going to put into it, and that's something that only you can answer for yourself. So can't wait to see what it is though, because I know it's going to be great. I know it's going to be great. So one of
yeah,
uh one of my new favorite questions that I like to ask athletes, if you listen to any of the interviews, I've really started implementing these questions that I really really enjoy it. Oh, I skipped one. We'll go back to it. That's fine. I want you to send a message to your team to motivate them and inspire them as you guys near the start of this upcoming season. And what is that message?
Um, you hear it all the time, but it truly just goes by fast. And now that I'm heading into my senior season, I feel like playing for your senior brothers is a big thing. And I love all of my teammates. I might pick fights at practice, and that's only just out of love. I just want to see the best out of my best friends and my teammates.
Okay. All right. Good. So another thing that we like to do is try to get the community involved, right? I think this has been a huge joy of mine getting to become invested in players, and I think that there's a lot of people that they could have the same joy. Um, and with all the people always complaining about being bored and all this, and all they do is argue about politics and all that, right? Uh, I try to get the community as involved as I can. Um, Not just for the football, but for all the programs and all the athletes. If you could give us a message to the community explaining why they should get out there and support this stuff, what would that message be?
Um, I feel like a message to us is just like, there's no better feeling than running out to a full crowd. It's more just like, we live in an amazing town. I feel like personally, like, I feel like if you go to any sporting event, I feel like, the stands are full and they're loud and I feel like I just feel like Grantsville is just an amazing place to be. I feel like we get amazing support, but I don't really know. I feel like just personally overall, we just get great support from our community.
Okay, all right. No, I mean I would agree with you in a lot of ways. I say it quite often that I personally feel like when it comes to traveling, Grantsville travels extremely well in comparison to some of the other schools that I've seen. Um, I think it's more of a it can always be better, right? And let's give them a reason to have to build you guys a bigger stadium. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
And the people who come out, they definitely do support 100%. That's definitely not a knock at them at any means. I think it's just more of let's get more, man. Let's get more, and let's get that same love and that same support to the programs that aren't on Friday night. You know what I mean?
yeah, I agree with you.
So no, and that's perfectly fine too. That's your perspective of it because it's unique to you. You get to experience it from the field level, so obviously it's going to be different from your perspective, man. That was a great answer. So as we start to wrap this up, we had our technical difficulties, man. I'm sorry. Um, but as we start to wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts? Maybe something that we missed that you think should be covered, or something about yourself or your team that you think people should know?
Um, no, I just want to say thank you for uh, having this with me. I greatly appreciate it, and I feel like this is just getting my name out there and the town of Grantsville out there, even though I feel like we're kind of known. And I just want to say, we appreciate everyone that comes out on Friday nights. We we truly do love our town and our community. So just a thank you.
Okay. Well, we got a question in the comments, and it says, "What is Jaxxon most excited for?"
Um, I'm most excited for uh, probably just for the season to start. It's just so much going on at all times, and I feel like that's just the best part of it all. I'm just excited for it all just to start.
Hey, you and me both, man. You and me both. Um, I'm having a blast doing these other sports, but I love basketball. I love football. I can't wait for the fall sports. I'm super excited for it. So, hey, listen, man. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you've had a long day. I greatly appreciate it, and I mean what I say, man. I'm super excited to see what you do. You had a heck of a season last year, and I can't see you not coming out and uh, having a repeat good season. I just can't see it, and you know it's been a pleasure to watch you grow and develop into the player that you've become. You know, I don't know if you get told that enough, but it's definitely been a pleasure to see it, man. You've done some great things, so thank you for being here with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, and I think your teammates are probably trying to troll you a little bit, um, and they told me to tell you that it says, "Tell him I'm his biggest fan." I assume you're
Yeah,
supposed to know
I
what
guess
that
I could take a
means.
guess who that is. Yeah, that's probably just some guys from the team.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, best of luck to you guys as you guys head into the season. Obviously, we'll be around to see what you guys do. But seriously, best of luck, man. Get hydrated, get some rest, and you guys got your red and white kickoff tomorrow at what is it 6:30? Starting at 6:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yes.
right, man. Well, that ought to be exciting. We're super excited for you. Again, thank you for being with us. I do appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your night, okay?
Okay. Thank you. You too.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Okay. See you. Bye.
See ya. All right, everybody. Oh, let me get the screen. I don't know if I did that. All right. Well, whatever. Hey, that was Jaxxon Jensen. We had some technical difficulties, but wide receiver for Grantsville, Utah. Um, he really did great things last year. I feel very confident he's going to do great things coming to this season. So we're super excited to see what he does. Great young man. He seems to have his head on his shoulders. He's learned from some of his previous stuff, which is all you can ask for from anybody. Keep an eye out for him. I think he's going to do big things. He gave us some people to keep an eye on. We got Matt Hammond, excuse me, Ty Holmes. Can't wait to see it. And shout out to him again for doing it because he really did have a long day. They had their practice this morning. Then they had their media day all the way out in Richfield. Then came back, did some more practice. And yeah, oh yeah, the cake. They've got their senior cake auction thing that they're doing. So hopefully he's already made that. If not, he's probably got to go get to that. So definitely a long day for him. I greatly appreciate him taking the time out of his day to be a part of that. As for everything else, guys, if you notice at the bottom there, we've got the red and white game for Grantsville tomorrow. Also the purple and white, or white and purple game, excuse me, at 7 p.m. for Chihuahua tomorrow. So if you're in the Chihuahua area, be sure to get over there, support those guys. Your Grantsville area, come on out. The Deseret Peak had theirs this evening, and Stansbury was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. In terms of interviews, I'm still trying to work it with Stansbury. We got to get some love out to them. But tomorrow might be our first ever multiple player interview. It's going to be cool. Stansbury really does a great job of helping me do some of these first time trial runs. Special shout out to them on that. They're not afraid to help me out with that kind of stuff. So I greatly appreciate that. So hopefully we can get that orchestrated. It'll be a little bit earlier in the day because I do have to be places in the evening. So it won't be 9 o'clock like it has been all week. But we're going to do that. Then again, on Saturday, we have the head coach for Chihuahua High School, Coach Thule Wiley Matagi, I think is how you say it. I got to look at it. It's not in front of me. Bonehead moment right there for me. But we got Coach Thule from Chihuahua High School on Saturday at 6 p.m. I'm really looking forward to that interview. And so please be sure to keep an eye out for all of these. Tune in, support them, and share them around. Spread some love, especially for these athletes. That's what this is all about. Just so everybody's clear, I don't make any money off this. Okay, I'm not doing it for money. I'm not trying to profit off these players. I'm literally just trying to show them some recognition. Okay, I love it. It's enjoyable for me. So hopefully you guys like it. Shout out to Stansbury Soccer. They won this afternoon. They went against Canyon View. They ended up winning that game 3-0. So they start their season out 2-0. I haven't seen the scores for the other games just yet. I'll take a look at that after we get wrapped up here. But I was at that game, so special shout out to them. They did a great job. And yeah, start getting ready, guys. It's about to kick off. Literally, it's about to kick off. It's about to get really exciting. So I hope you guys are prepping yourselves to get out there and support these athletes. Okay, so hey everybody, thank you for being with us. I greatly appreciate it. As always, guys, please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. And until next time, I'll see you at the games.